Mason handed me a silver laptop at dinner and said, "Dad, I think I found a way to make money trading stocks." It was a Tuesday, late May. We were sitting around the kitchen table, me, my wife Natalie, our daughter Sophia, home from Reed College for the summer, and Mason, our 16-year-old who lived half his life online. The laptop was thin, sleek, Dell XPS. I didn't recognize it. "That's not yours," I said. "Found it at the vacation rental," Mason said, already pulling up a spreadsheet. "In the den. Mom said a work colleague was staying nearby, must have left it. But check this out. There's this whole system for tracking stock trades and—" "Mason!" Natalie's voice was sharp. Too sharp. "That's not ours. We should return it." But Mason had already opened a folder. The fans started that distinctive whirring sound like a small jet engine warming up. I leaned over his shoulder. The folder name stopped me cold. Sterling Family Office. Sterling. That's my last name. Jonathan Sterling. I built a company protecting people's data from theft, Sterling Systems, cybersecurity software, 85 employees, $12 million annual revenue, clients across 3 continents. I'd spent 20 years teaching Fortune 500 companies how to secure their digital assets, and here was a stranger's laptop with my family name on it. "Open it," I said quietly. Mason clicked. Row after row of spreadsheets appeared, banking transactions, wire transfers, account numbers I'd seen before on our statements. My name was everywhere. Column headers, date, amount, account source, destination, status complete. I felt my pulse in my ears. Row 47 caught my eye. March 8th, $18,250, wire transfer, destination, Harrison Trust, Cayman Islands. Row 48, March 22th, $21,750. Same destination. Row 49, April 5th, $16,200, same. I scrolled, so the whirring of the laptop fans filled the silence. Every 2 weeks, different amounts, but always between 15 and 25,000. Always just under the reporting threshold. Always to the same Cayman account. 18 months of transactions. "John?" Natalie stood up. "Honey, we should really—" "Sit down." I didn't look at her. I kept scrolling. The dates matched perfectly with periods I'd been traveling. Chicago conference, Dallas client meeting, Singapore for 2 weeks. The spreadsheet had notes, detailed notes. J in Chicago, safe window. J Singapore trip, maximized transfers. There was a formula calculating optimal amounts to avoid triggering bank alerts. This wasn't a mistake. This was systematic. "Dad," Sophia's voice was small. "What is Harrison Trust?" I knew exactly what it was. Harrison was Natalie's maiden name, but I couldn't make my mouth form the words. The spacebar on the keyboard was slightly sticky. The laptop smelled faintly of coffee and something else. Cigarettes, maybe. I turned it over. Engraved on the bottom in neat script, BJW. "Who's BJW?" I asked. My voice sounded strange, flat. Natalie didn't answer. She was staring at the laptop like it might bite her. "Bradley," Sophia said suddenly. She was looking at her phone. "Mom, isn't that Bradley Whitmore, your financial advisor? He always signs his emails BJ Whitmore." The room tilted slightly. Bradley Whitmore. The man Natalie had hired 3 years ago to manage our family portfolio. The man I'd met exactly twice, once at the country club, once when he came to the house to go over estate planning documents. Friendly guy, early 50s, firm handshake, told me I was lucky to have such a financially savvy wife. I clicked to the next tab. More spreadsheets. This one was titled Offshore Account Summary. The Harrison Trust had a current balance of $147,392, over $1 million in an account I'd never heard of, in my wife's maiden name. "I can explain," Natalie said. I looked at her, really looked at her. Natalie Grace Sterling, née Harrison. 45 years old. We'd been married 23 years. She was wearing the cream cashmere sweater I'd bought her for Christmas. Her blonde hair was pulled back in the way she always wore it for work dinners. Her hands were shaking slightly. "Explain," I said. It's complicated." Bradley said we should diversify, move some assets offshore for tax purposes. It's completely legal, John. It's our money. Show me the account access. What? If it's our money, show me the account access. Pull it up right now. I want to see my name on it. She couldn't. I could see it in her eyes. She couldn't because my name wasn't on it. This was a secret account, hidden money, over $1 million moved in careful increments while I was building the business that was supposed to secure our family's future. Mason had gone very quiet. He was scrolling through more files. Dad, there's more. There's a whole folder called Nate Grace LLC and another one, Harrison Holdings. I took the laptop from him. My hands were steadier than I expected. The folder contained business formation documents. Oregon Limited Liability Companies, Nate Grace LLC, registered April 2024. Harrison Holdings, registered June 2024. Member Natalie Grace Harrison Sterling. And then I saw it, my signature, on the formation documents, on the operating agreements. My signature authorizing the creation of these shell companies. The estate planning documents, I said. The words came out like someone else was speaking them. Last year, you had me sign estate planning documents. John, I can explain. These aren't estate planning documents. These are shell companies. You created corporate entities in your name and had me sign off on them. Why? Sophia was crying, quiet tears running down her face. Mason had picked up his phone, then put it down, then picked it up again. The universal sign of a 16-year-old who had no idea what to do. I clicked back to the main folder. There were more files. I opened one at random. It was a PDF, a wire transfer confirmation, international banking paper, that official weight and texture even through the screen. Cayman Islands National Bank. Confirmation number, routing codes. The pages were slightly yellowed, scanned documents with that overseas mail smell I could almost detect through the image. 34 transfers, total 147,392. But that wasn't the most interesting part. Each wire had an origination source. Some came from Sterling Systems operating account. My company. She'd been taking money from my company. Rita's been asking about discrepancies, I said slowly, remembering. Rita Palmer, our actual CFO, the person who did the real work while Natalie held the title of Chief Financial Officer on paper. A courtesy position I'd created so she could be involved in the business. Last week, she said she found some irregularities in the quarterly audit. Natalie's face had gone very white. How much is from the business? I asked. She didn't answer. I stood up, walked to my office, came back with my laptop, pulled up our business banking. Rita had sent me the preliminary audit findings, but I'd been too busy to look closely. I opened the attachment. There it was, line item after line item of unexplained withdrawals. Business development, consulting services, strategic advisory fees, financial planning services, all paid to Nate Grace LLC and Harrison Holdings, all authorized with my digital signature, the signature Natalie had access to for routine transactions. The total from the business accounts, $847,000. I looked at Sophia. She was 19, smart as hell, studying economics at Reed. Her college fund should have $180,000 in it by now. I pulled up that account. Balance, $47,392. I looked at Mason. His college fund should have been even higher. We'd started it earlier. Balance, $31,847. You took their college money, I said. You took money from our children's future. It's not like that, Natalie said. Her voice had an edge now. Defensive. It's all family money, John. It's not theft. We're married, community property. I was managing our assets. Managing. The word felt sharp in my mouth. Into a secret offshore account in your maiden name that I have no access to, while lying to me about estate planning. Dad, Sophia said. She wasn't crying anymore. Her voice was very controlled, very adult. I need to show you something. She left the room, came back with her small overnight bag from the vacation, started unpacking, dumped everything on the table, clothes, sunscreen, a novel, her makeup bag. 3 credit cards fell out of the makeup bag. Not debit cards, credit cards, Visa, 3 different names printed on them, Nate Grace LLC. Harrison Holdings. BW Consulting. I borrowed your makeup bag last night, Sophia said to her mother. Mine broke. These fell out of the inside pocket. I picked up the cards. They had that specific plastic card smell, made a clicking sound when I stacked them. One had a slight crack in the corner, well used. I'd never seen these cards before. BW Consulting, I said. Bradley Whitmore. Sophia pulled out her phone. She'd already done the research while I was spiraling. I found the statements online. The cards are linked to your joint account. Dad, there's $340,000 in charges over the last year. She started reading. Her voice shook, but she kept going. Tiffany & Co., $47,000. Cartier, $32,000. Louis Vuitton, $18,000. And then there's these. A Bellagio Hotel, Las Vegas, $12,000. Wynn Las Vegas, $15,000. Aria, $9,000. She pulled up more documents. Casino players, club statements, glossy paper with that Vegas hotel perfume smell I could picture. The ink was slightly faded, but readable. High roller comp reports. The Bellagio comped a suite under Bradley Whitmore's name, Sophia continued. March 15th through 18. Same weekend you told Dad you were at that real estate conference in San Diego. Sophia, stop, Natalie said. When? April 7 through 10. You said you had a venue site visit in Sacramento. Sophia, Aria, April 22nd through 24. You said you were visiting your college roommate. Enough! But it wasn't enough, because Sophia pulled out one more document, a casino credit report, gambling losses over 3 months, $184,750. You weren't managing our assets, I said. You were gambling them away with Bradley in Vegas while I thought you were working. The laptop was still open in front of me, still whirring. That sticky space bar. I clicked to the main directory, saw another folder I'd missed. Personal. I opened it before Natalie could stop me. Property deed. Official Deschutes County document. Heavy paper with the county seal embossed. I could practically feel the raised edges through the screen. Government office smell. A $580,000 condominium in Bend, Oregon, purchased 6 months ago, financing Sterling Systems business line of credit. Owners Nate Grace LLC. Members listed Natalie Grace Sterling, Bradley James Whitmore. They'd bought a condo together with my money from my business. A love nest, I said. The words felt absurd coming out of my mouth, like I was in a bad movie. You bought a love nest with my company's credit line. It's an investment property, Natalie said, but her voice had no conviction. Mason was still scrolling through folders. I'd forgotten he was there. He was very quiet, that scary quiet teenagers get when they're processing something too big. Then he stopped. His face changed. Dad, he said, there's a PowerPoint. Mason, close that laptop, Natalie said. Her voice was different now, panicked, but I took it from him, opened the file. Nat Brad Future V3 PPTX version 3, meaning there were earlier drafts, meaning they'd refined this. The presentation opened with that soft PowerPoint whoosh sound, professional template color-coded with bullet points. Slide 1, our future detailed planning timeline. Slide 2, current status May 2025. Slide 3, asset distribution analysis. I clicked through. My hands were shaking now. Slide 12 stopped me. Asset distribution target 4.2, Sir John's business equity, 2.8 half tricky 1.4 MA real estate, 1.8 meter home, half tricky 900K. Retirement accounts is 780K, half tricky 390K. Offshore secured 1.2 million hours. Additional recovery via settlement 500K projected. Total target 4.4 million. They'd calculated it down to the dollar. how much they get when they left me. Slide 23 made Sophia gasp out loud. Baby timeline and strategy. Baby due. January 12th, 2026. File for divorce. March 2026. After birth. Reasoning, maximize settlement. He won't fight a pregnant woman. By March, baby born healthy, paternity established in public record as his, then file. Custody strategy. Site, work obsession, frequent travel. Kids, Sophia, 20, college, minimal complications. Mason, 17 by filing, will be 18 by court date, minimal custody complications. Sophia's voice cracked. She was going to take everything from us and call it love? I couldn't speak. Mason had gone very white. Natalie was crying now, but I felt nothing looking at her tears. She calculated our children's ages as minimal complications. Mason wasn't her son in this document. He was a variable, a custody complication to be minimized. I clicked to slide 31. There it was, in a bullet point. Mason will be 18 by court date, minimal custody complications. My 16-year-old son reduced to a line item in a divorce strategy PowerPoint with quarterly targets and KPIs. I looked at slide 37, the last one, post-divorce life, Bend property as primary residence, consulting business, B's photography plus N's event coordination. Travel, Tuscany honeymoon, Oct 2026. Wedding date, October 18th, 2026, our anniversary, symbolic fresh start. They were planning to get married on my anniversary with the money they'd stolen from me. I closed the laptop. The sudden silence was deafening. Get out, I said to Natalie. John, please get out of my house. She stood there, opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Sophia, at Mason. Neither of them would meet her eyes. She left. The laptop sat on the table, still warm from running, still carrying 18 months of systematic theft, of calculated betrayal, of a marriage exit planned like a business acquisition. Sophia was crying. Mason was staring at nothing. And I was trying to remember how to breathe. I'd built a company teaching the world's biggest corporations how to protect their data from theft. I'd installed firewalls, encryption, multi-factor authentication. I'd given keynote speeches about cybersecurity, about trust protocols, about verifying access. And the whole time, the real theft was happening in my own home. By the person I'd given complete access to, the person I trusted so completely I never thought to check. How do you protect yourself from someone you've given all the keys to? How do you build a firewall against someone who's already inside? And how do I explain to my children that their mother just calculated them as custody complications in her plan to steal their future? Natalie came back 3 hours later. I'd sent the kids to their rooms, Sophia to process, Mason to game, both to get away from the wreckage in the kitchen. I'd spent those 3 hours on the phone. First with Rita, our CFO, asking her to pull every transaction from the last 18 months. Then with David Carter, my best friend who runs a competing tech firm. I needed someone who understood both business and betrayal. Don't confront her alone, David had said. Document everything first. Get a lawyer. But I needed to hear it from her. Needed to understand how someone spends 23 years sleeping next to you and planning your destruction. She walked in like she'd been at a work dinner. Calm, composed. The cashmere sweater had been replaced with a silk blouse. She'd reapplied her makeup, fixed her hair. She looked like she was preparing for a business negotiation. Maybe she was. We need to talk, she said. You think? I was standing by the sink. I'd made coffee. Not because I wanted it, because I needed something to do with my hands. The mug was warm, grounding. It's not what it looks like. Natalie, I saw the PowerPoint, slide 23. Baby due January, file for divorce March. Don't insult me by pretending this is a misunderstanding. She sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where Mason had handed me that laptop 6 hours ago. Had it really only been 6 hours, it felt like 6 years. The baby is yours, she said. The baby. I'm pregnant, John. 12 weeks. I was going to tell you this weekend. I wanted it to be special. The mug almost slipped from my hand. Pregnant. 12 weeks. I did the math. Backward. March. I'd been in Singapore for 2 weeks in March. Work trip, major client presentation. Natalie had encouraged me to go. Said she'd hold down the fort, maybe take a spa weekend in Bend, where they owned a condo together. I was in Singapore when you got pregnant, I said slowly. 2 weeks, March 10 through 24. You came back early, the 22nd. Don't you remember? I didn't come back early. The trip got extended. I wasn't home until March 26th. I have the boarding passes, the hotel receipts, client dinner bills. Her face shifted, just slightly. A micro expression, the one she got when a work excuse didn't land. Then it happened after you got back. I probably miscalculated. Natalie, 12 weeks pregnant means conception around March 12th, give or take 3 days. I wasn't even on the same continent. I pulled out my phone, showed her my location history. That thing everyone forgets is tracking them constantly. Singapore. Every single day from March 10th, 26. She went very quiet. There's an email in Bradley's laptop, I said. Did I mention that? From him to you, March 15th. Subject line, best Bend weekend yet. You replied, can't wait until we don't have to hide. You're twisting everything. I also found this. I pulled a piece of paper from my pocket. It had fallen out of Bradley's laptop bag when I dumped the contents earlier. Shreve & Coerch Portland's oldest, most expensive jeweler. The receipt was thick cardstock, that premium paper you can feel the quality of. The logo was embossed at the top. I'd run my finger over it, tracing the raised letters. It smelled like cedar lining, that distinct, wealthy smell. I slid it across to her. April 28th, $43,000, 2.5 carat diamond solitaire engagement ring, platinum setting, VS1 clarity. She looked at it, didn't touch it. Payment method, Sterling Family Visa, account ending in 4392. That's our joint account, Natalie, the one I thought we used for household expenses and emergencies. So, you bought an engagement ring with my money for Bradley to propose to you with my money. It's community property, she said. Her voice had changed, harder now. The mask was slipping. We're married. I can spend our money however I want. Sophia had been standing in the doorway. I hadn't heard her come down, but her voice cut through the room like a knife. You bought your own ring with Dad's money to marry someone else? Natalie stood up. Sophia, you don't understand adult relationships. I understand theft. Sophia's voice shook, but she kept going. I understand lying. I understand that you stole from my college fund to buy yourself jewelry, for a man who isn't my father. Your father is never here. He's always working, always traveling, always choosing the business over his family. I worked, I said quietly, to pay for this house, for your car, for the country club membership you insisted we needed, for the private school, for everything you wanted. And you used my absence, my work to provide for you, as an excuse to rob me blind. I wasn't robbing. It's complicated, John. The offshore accounts were for tax efficiency. Bradley explained. Bradley. I laughed. It sounded wrong. Bradley, who lost $184,000 of our money gambling in Vegas? Bradley, who got fired from Merrill Lynch for ethics violations. Did he explain that part? Bradley, who's done this before with his ex-girlfriend. That Bradley? Her face went white. You talked to her? I talked to everyone. David helped me find Bradley's ex. Turns out he ran the same playbook. Financial advisor, affair, shell companies, offshore accounts. She lost $400,000 before she caught him. She tried to warn you, didn't she? She sent you an email 2 years ago. Natalie sat back down, said nothing. She wrote, I don't know you, but I saw your name on his client list. Be careful, he's done this before. You blocked her email. I found it in your spam folder. This is insane, Natalie said. You're making me sound like a criminal. I made some investment decisions you don't agree with. You forged bank statements. I found those too. That stopped her. She blinked. The quarterly portfolio reviews, I continued. The nice black leather binder you showed me every 3 months. Rita compared them to the actual bank downloads this afternoon. Every single statement you showed me was photoshopped, forged. The balances were inflated by $890,000. You've been lying to me for 18 months with fake documents. That's fraud, Natalie. That's federal wire fraud. Mason appeared behind Sophia. Neither of them said anything. They just stood there, watching their mother realize she was caught. If you've ever found something that made you question everything you thought you knew about someone close to you, a text, a receipt, something that didn't add up, just type "found" in the comments. You're not alone in that moment of realization. It changes you. I want a divorce, Natalie said finally. Clearly, this marriage is over. I'll have my lawyer contact you. She stood up, started to walk out. Sit down, I said. We're not done. I don't have to... Sit down. Or I call the FBI right now and report the wire fraud. Your choice. She sat. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to move out tonight. You're going to sleep somewhere else. I don't care where. Maybe that $580,000 condo you bought with Bradley. Tomorrow morning, you're meeting with me and my lawyer. You're going to provide full accounting of every dollar you moved, every transaction, every account, and you're going to start the process of returning what you stole. I didn't steal offshore accounts in your maiden name that your husband has no access to. Money taken from business accounts using forged authorization. That's embezzlement. That's theft. Call it whatever you want, but that's what the FBI will call it. She looked at Sophia, at Mason. Her face crumpled. You're turning my own children against me. No, Sophia said. Her voice was ice. You did that yourself when you calculated our ages as minimal custody complications. Natalie left. This time she took a suitcase. By morning, Bradley was gone too. David called me at 6 a.m. Your boy flew the coop. Bradley Whitmore. His neighbor says he left yesterday around 10 p.m. 2 suitcases, drove off in his truck. Where? Unknown. But John, his ex, said he talked about Mexico constantly, said he had resources there if things ever got hot. Those offshore accounts? He can access them from anywhere. I called the FBI field office at 8 a.m., asked for white-collar crime division, got transferred 4 times, finally reached Agent Elizabeth Morgan. Mr. Sterling, she said after I'd explained for 15 minutes straight, I need you to not touch anything else on that laptop. Don't delete anything. Don't move any files. Can you bring it to our office today? He's going to run, I said. Bradley, he's probably halfway to Mexico already. Let me worry about that. You worry about documenting everything. Bank statements, emails, anything your wife signed. I'm opening a case file. This is wire fraud, probably money laundering, possibly RICO if the pattern holds, but I need evidence I can use in court. How long does this take? Cases like this? 8 to 12 weeks for investigation. Then we decide on charges. Then arrest warrants, arraignment, trial. You're looking at 6 months minimum before any resolution. I can't wait 6 months. My company is hemorrhaging cash. I've got 85 employees who depend on me, and my wife is telling people I'm unstable. Then we move fast, she said. Bring me that laptop today. My father showed up that afternoon. Thomas Sterling, 72 years old, retired accountant. I'd called him that morning, gave him the basics. He drove up from Salem 3 hours, brought his briefcase full of yellow legal pads and red pens, tools of his trade. Show me everything, he said. We sat in my home office. I pulled up the files, the offshore accounts, the shell company documents, the forged bank statements. He put on his reading glasses, those old-school bifocals, and started taking notes. His handwriting was precise, methodical. After 2 hours, he sat back. John, This is textbook embezzlement. Systematic, sophisticated. Whoever planned this knew what they were doing. Natalie, I said, and Bradley. Where is she? Lawyer's office, setting up divorce proceedings. Call her. Tell her I want to talk to her here, tonight. Dad, trust me. Natalie showed up at 7 p.m. She looked exhausted. Good. I was exhausted too. I hadn't slept. Mason wouldn't come out of his room. Sophia had cried on the phone with her roommate for an hour. My father was sitting at the dining room table. He'd laid out everything, printouts of bank statements, the real ones and the forged ones side by side, the wire transfer confirmations, the shell company documents, the property deed. He'd organized it like a prosecution exhibit, numbered, cross-referenced, highlighted in yellow and red. Sit down, Natalie, Thomas said, not unkind, just firm. She sat. He spread out the first set of documents, bank statements, March through May 2024. Tell me about these transfers. March 8th, $18,250. March 27th, $21,650. April 5th, $16,200. Those were investment transfers to an account in the Cayman Islands called Harrison Trust, an account my son has no access to, no signature authority, no knowledge of. Tell me how that's an investment for the family. She said nothing. He pulled out the next set. Now tell me about these. The forged statements. You presented these to John quarterly, January, April, July, October. Told him the portfolio was growing, up 8% here, up 11% here. But when we pulled the real statements from the bank, he laid them side by side. The balances are $890,000 lower than what you reported. I simplified the presentation. You fabricated documents. That's fraud, Natalie. His voice was still calm, almost gentle. That made it worse somehow. These aren't simplified. These are fake. You photoshopped bank statements to hide the fact that you were stealing. I wasn't stealing. I was managing. You stole from my granddaughter's college fund. $132,000 gone. You stole from my grandson's college fund. $148,000 gone. You stole from my son's business. $847,000. You stole from the retirement account he built over 20 years. $380,000. You gambled away $184,000 in Vegas. You bought a condominium for you and your lover with money from my son's company line of credit. You purchased your own engagement ring with his money. You created fake companies to launder funds. And you planned to file for divorce after securing maximum settlement, having calculated that your own children were minimal custody complications. His voice cracked, just slightly, just enough to show he was human under the accountant precision. I taught you how to read a balance sheet when you married my son. I taught you about fiduciary duty. You sat at my Thanksgiving table for 20 years. I welcomed you into this family, and you used everything I taught you to steal from my boy. Sophia was listening from the stairs. I could hear her breathing. I'm 72 years old, Natalie. I've seen a lot of thieves in my career. Embezzlers, fraudsters, people who stole from their own companies. But I've never seen someone rob their own children's future while pregnant with her lover's baby and calling it asset management. He stood up, collected his papers, organized them back into neat piles. You disgust me. He walked out, didn't look back. Natalie sat there, tears running down her face, but I felt nothing looking at her, nothing except the echo of my father's broken voice saying, "Steal from my boy." The next morning, Rita called an emergency meeting. "John, we have a problem, a big one." I drove to the office. Sterling Systems occupied 2 floors of a tech building in Portland's Pearl District, glass walls, open floor plan. 85 people who trusted me to keep the business running, to keep their paychecks coming, to keep their families secure. Rita's office was on the 2nd floor. She had 3 monitors up, all showing spreadsheets. Her expression was grim. "The accounts are worse than I thought," she said. "Natalie didn't just take from the main operating account. She took from payroll reserves, from the tax escrow, from the emergency fund. We've got payroll due in 11 days. We're $340,000 short. The room tilted. How? She had digital signature authority for routine transactions. Remember? You set that up so she could handle vendor payments while you traveled. She used it to create fake vendor accounts. BW Consulting, Harrison Holdings, Nate Grace LLC. She'd send invoices, approve them, pay them, all within her authorization limits. None of them flagged because they looked like normal business expenses. Can we cover payroll? Not without a loan. And if we take a loan, the board is going to ask why, which means explaining that our CFO, your wife, embezzled almost $1 million, which means the investors are going to panic, which means we might lose funding for the Q4 expansion. 85 people, 85 families. Some of them had mortgages, kids in daycare, student loans, medical bills. They didn't cause this. They didn't steal anything, but they'd pay the price if I couldn't fix it. Get David Carter on the phone, I said. Tell him I need $350,000 today. John, just do it. I'll beg if I have to. That afternoon, I stood in front of my entire company, town hall meeting, everyone gathered in the main conference room and overflow watching on screens. I'd told Rita to call it quarterly business update so people wouldn't panic before I could explain. 85 faces looking at me, young engineers fresh out of college, senior developers who'd been with me since the beginning, salespeople, marketing, HR, admin, people who'd worked late nights and weekends to build this company, who'd taken pay cuts during the lean years because they believed in what we were building. I want to be transparent with you, I started. My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. We've discovered some financial irregularities in our accounts. Nothing that affects our client work or our product security. Nothing that impacts our obligations to clients. But we did have some unauthorized transactions that created a temporary cash flow issue. Someone raised their hand. Michael, a senior engineer. How unauthorized? Significant enough that we've brought in external auditors and forensic accountants, and we're working with law enforcement to resolve it. Murmurs, whispered conversations, people pulling out phones. I know what you're thinking, I continued. How does a cybersecurity company get defrauded? Shouldn't we have caught this? I paused. Let that land. Yes, we should have. I should have. I built systems to protect our clients' data. I didn't build the right controls for our internal financial transactions. That's on me, and I'm fixing it. Are our jobs safe? Melissa from HR, the question everyone was thinking. Yes, I've secured bridge financing to cover payroll and operations while we sort this out. Your paychecks will clear. Your benefits are intact. We're not laying anyone off. We're not cutting salaries. This is my problem to fix, not yours. I couldn't tell them. Couldn't say that the person who'd put their jobs at risk was my wife. Was sleeping in my bed for 20 years while planning this. Couldn't explain that the fraud was personal and professional and tangled up so completely that separating them felt impossible. We're going to get through this, I said. Sterling Systems was built on trust, on security, on protecting what matters. Someone violated that trust. We're going to make it right. After the meeting, I sat alone in my office, stared at the payroll spreadsheet I couldn't cover without David's loan, at the 3 a.m. text I'd sent begging my best friend to stake his own company's cash to save mine, at the employee roster, 85 names, 85 families, 85 reasons I couldn't let Natalie's theft destroy what we'd built. John had a choice. He could expose Natalie publicly, tell his employees exactly why the company nearly went under, or protect his kids from that embarrassment and handle it quietly through legal channels. If you were him, would you expose the truth publicly, type expose, or protect your children's privacy, type protect? What would you do? There's no wrong answer. Both choices have a cost. Some of you will say transparency matters. Others will say kids come first. I chose my children's dignity over public vindication. The truth would come out eventually, but on my timeline, not the rumor mills. Agent Elizabeth Morgan called 2 days later. Mr. Sterling, I need you to come to the federal building. I have something you need to hear. The FBI field office was downtown. Concrete building, metal detectors, security badges. She led me to an interview room. Small table, 2 chairs, recording equipment. We tracked down Bradley Whitmore, she said. Tried to board a flight to Cabo San Lucas yesterday. Caught him at Portland International with a one-way ticket and 2 suitcases full of cash. Is he arrested? He's in custody, and he's cooperating, fully, immediately. Fastest flip I've seen in 15 years. She pulled out a digital recorder. I'm going to play you something. It's going to be difficult to hear, but it's evidence we can use. She pressed play. Bradley's voice. Tinny through the recorder, but clear. Are you sure he won't notice the $25K transfer? That's bigger than usual. Then Natalie's voice. Cold. Calculated. No emotion. He never checks. I've been doing this for 18 months. As long as I smile and handle boring money stuff, he signs whatever I put in front of him. Bradley laughed. Still feels risky. It's not. Natalie's voice had that professional tone, the one she used for event coordination, discussing wedding flowers and seating charts. He travels half the month. He trusts me completely. Honestly, Bradley, he built a cybersecurity company, but can't secure his own bank account. It's almost too easy. She laughed. Actually laughed. The recording continued. More planning, more discussion of optimal transfer amounts, how to stay under reporting thresholds, which accounts to hit when, exit timelines. The baby's the key, Natalie's voice said. Once I'm pregnant, we wait until January. Birth. Establish paternity on paper as his, then file in March. Pregnancy sympathy carries us through settlement. He won't fight a new mother. We'll get $4 million easy. And if he does fight, then we drag it out. I've got the kids, the home, the lifestyle documentation. Oregon's a no-fault state, but judges still consider conduct. I'll paint him as workaholic, absent father, emotionally unavailable. He's been too busy building his precious company to notice I've been building our exit for 2 years. The recording clicked off. Agent Morgan looked at me. Bradley made these recordings, started 6 months ago, insurance policy he called it. In case things went south with Natalie, he'd have leverage. He was planning to blackmail her, probably, but now he's using them to save himself. He's offering full cooperation. Every account, every transaction, every meeting, in exchange for a reduced sentence. Will you take the deal? Depends what your wife does. If she fights this, we charge them both to the fullest extent. Federal wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion. Bradley's looking at 5 to 7 years. Natalie's looking at the same. And if she pleads? 18 months, maybe less with good behavior, restitution, supervised probation. But she'd have to allocate, admit to everything, provide full accounting, help us recover the assets. I thought about Sophia, about Mason, about having their mother in federal prison. Let me know what you need from me, I said. Agent Morgan handed me a business card. One more thing. Bradley's done this before. Twice. Same pattern. Financial advisor. Affair with married client. Shell companies. Offshore accounts. His ex-girlfriend tried to warn your wife 2 years ago. Natalie ignored her. She told me that already. No, I mean she actively pursued him after being warned. We found emails. Natalie wrote to a friend. I know he's got a past, but that just means he knows what he's doing. I'm tired of playing it safe. She knew exactly what she was getting into. This wasn't seduction, Mr. Sterling. This was partnership. When I got home, Sophia was sitting in my office, her laptop open. She'd been crying. I can't do this, Dad. Can't do what? The internship at your company. Every time I walk past Rita's desk, I think about Mom, about how she stole from your employees. These people have families. And mom took money that could have been their bonuses, their security. How do I look at them? Sophia, I keep thinking about the PowerPoint, the spreadsheets, how professional it all looked, like she was planning a wedding instead of destroying our family. She used the same template she uses for work, color-coded with bullet points. She was holding her resignation letter, already written, formal, apologetic. You don't have to quit, I said. I can't focus. Every finance meeting, I wonder if I'm like her. If I got her ability to just separate feelings from numbers, to calculate people like assets. You're nothing like her. How do you know? I'm studying economics because I'm good with numbers, because I can look at spreadsheets and see patterns. What if that's all she was doing? Seeing patterns, optimizing, and I've got the same brain. Sophia, look at me. She did. Her eyes were red, exhausted. You are not your mother. You're the woman who found those credit cards and showed them to me, even though it meant destroying your family. You chose truth when lying would have been easier. That's not her. That's you. That's integrity. But the employees, they don't know. They don't need to know. This isn't your guilt to carry. She cried then, really cried. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep. I held her while she sobbed into my shoulder, both of us sitting on my office floor like she was 5 years old again and not a college sophomore carrying the weight of her mother's crimes. Mason's breakdown came later, quieter, more violent. I found him in the garage at midnight. He was standing in front of the drywall, breathing hard. His right hand was bleeding. There was a hole in the wall the size of his fist. Mason, don't. His voice was shaking, rage and pain mixing together. Just don't. Let me see your hand. I keep thinking about that PowerPoint. He turned to face me. 16 years old, my son. Tears streaming down his face, but his voice was pure fury. Slide 31, Dad. Mason will be 18 by court date, minimal custody complications. She calculated my age, like I'm a variable in her fraud equation, not her son, a complication. She's sick. Was I ever real to her, or was I just part of the asset she was dividing? Like the house, like the retirement accounts, like the fucking bank accounts. He hit the wall again. I grabbed his wrist before he could do more damage. Stop. You're going to break your hand. Good. Maybe then I'll feel something other than this. His voice cracked. All that rage collapsed into something smaller, broken. Did she ever love us? Did she ever look at me and see her son? Or was I always just minimal custody complications? I pulled him close. He fought it for a second, then collapsed against me, sobbing. My 6-foot-tall son crying like he was 6 years old. We sank to the garage floor, oil stains and concrete and the smell of old paint, and I held him while he broke. You were always real to me, son. You are always real. Her sickness doesn't define your worth. You hear me? You are enough. But why wasn't I enough for her? And I had no answer. Because how do you explain to your child that some people are fundamentally broken? That they can look at their own children they carried, birthed, raised, and see spreadsheet cells instead of souls? I built a company protecting people's data from theft. Never imagined the real theft was happening in my own home. But it wasn't just money Natalie stole. It was my children's ability to trust. Their understanding of what family means. Their belief that the people who are supposed to love you actually do. And I couldn't recover that with forensic accounting or FBI raids or court orders. Some things, once stolen, can never be returned. Bradley's arrest made the news. Not national news, we're not that important. But Portland Business Journal picked it up. Local financial advisor arrested on wire fraud charges. The article was 2 paragraphs, mentioned Sterling Systems obliquely, said federal investigation ongoing. My phone started ringing. Clients asking if their data was secure, investors asking if the business was stable, country club members asking if the rumors were true. David fielded most of them. John's handling a personal matter. The company is fine. Client data was never compromised. We've brought in external auditors. Everything's being addressed. But the tech community in Portland is small. 1,200 people in our industry network. Everyone knows everyone. The whispers started immediately. Agent Morgan called 3 days after Bradley's arrest. He's singing like a canary, full cooperation. Every account, every transaction, every meeting. He's even provided recordings we didn't know existed. Your wife planned this for over 2 years, Mr. Sterling. Started setting up the shell companies before she even met Bradley. She was looking for someone to help her execute it. So Bradley wasn't the mastermind? Bradley's a predator who's done this before, but your wife? She's something else. She created the financial structure, the offshore accounts, the LLC framework. She recruited him, not the other way around. That hit differently. I'd been thinking of Natalie as a victim of sorts, seduced by a con man, manipulated. But no, she was the architect. She'd built the machine. Bradley was just the operator she'd hired. What happens now? We're offering your wife a choice. Plead guilty to federal wire fraud. Allocate fully. Admit everything. Provide complete accounting. Cooperate with asset recovery. In exchange, we recommend 18 months minimum security. Or she can fight it. Go to trial. Risk 7 to 10 years. And Bradley? 3 years federal. He gets credit for cooperation, but his pattern of behavior works against him. This is his third offense. Judge won't be lenient. When do you need her answer? Her lawyer has until Friday. 4 days. Natalie didn't fight. Her lawyer called Thursday afternoon. My client is prepared to enter a guilty plea. We'll need to negotiate the specific charges and sentencing recommendations, but she's willing to allocate. The arraignment was scheduled for the following Tuesday, federal courthouse downtown. I didn't have to attend, but I wanted to, needed to see this through. Sophia came with me. Mason refused. Said he couldn't look at her, didn't want to see her pretend to be sorry. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, American flag, judge's bench. Natalie sat at the defendant's table in a navy suit. Hair pulled back, no makeup, trying to look contrite. The prosecutor outlined the charges. Wire fraud, 8 counts, each carrying up to 20 years. But the plea agreement reduced it to 2 counts. Recommended sentence, 18 months minimum security federal prison, 3 years supervised release. Full restitution of $1,247 or $392, forfeiture of all assets purchased with stolen funds. Ms. Sterling, do you understand the charges against you? Yes, Your Honor. And you're pleading guilty of your own free will? Yes, Your Honor. The court requires allocution. In your own words, explain what you did. Natalie stood. Her hands were shaking. Over a period of 18 months, I transferred money from my husband's business accounts and our family accounts to offshore accounts in my name. I created shell companies to hide the transfers. I forged bank statements to conceal the theft. I used the money for personal expenses, including gambling, luxury purchases, and real estate. I did this deliberately. I knew it was wrong. I'm sorry. The judge looked at her for a long moment. Mr. Sterling, I've reviewed the evidence, the PowerPoint presentation, the detailed planning, the calculated deception. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was systematic fraud perpetrated against your own family, against your husband's business and employees, against your own children's college funds. Natalie was crying. I know, Your Honor. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking very clearly, the judge said. That's what makes this so egregious. The court accepts your guilty plea. Sentencing is scheduled for 30 days from today. Until then, you'll remain free on bond with GPS monitoring. That was it. 5 minutes. 23 years of marriage reduced to wire fraud, 8 counts, 2-count plea, 18 months recommended. We stood. The bailiff led Natalie out. She looked at Sophia once. Sophia didn't look back. The paternity test came back a week later. I'd agreed to it as part of the divorce proceedings. Natalie's lawyer had requested it, not because they thought the baby was mine, but to establish Bradley's paternity officially, for child support purposes. The envelope was thin, medical office letterhead, clean, clinical paper. I opened it alone in my office. Sophia and Mason didn't need to see this. DNA analysis confirms with 99.9% certainty that Bradley James Whitmore is the biological father of the developing fetus. I'd known, but seeing it in writing still hit like a punch. Not my baby. Never my baby. Another piece of the lie. I thought about the timeline, the PowerPoint slide. Baby due January, file for divorce March. She'd planned to have Bradley's baby, let me believe it was mine, establish paternity on paper as his, then file once the baby was safely born with my name on the birth certificate. How do you even conceive of something like that? What kind of person plans that level of deception? The country club held a board meeting, emergency session. Topic, the Sterling family membership. I didn't attend. Got the summary from David, who was on the board. They voted to revoke Natalie's membership privileges. Bradley's too, obviously. They asked about yours. I argued that you're the victim here, not the perpetrator. Majority agreed. You keep your membership, but John, people are talking. The scandal's too good, too salacious, financial advisor, affair, embezzlement. It's got everything. I know. You could sue them. Natalie and Bradley, civil suit for alienation of affection, fraud, conversion, recover damages beyond criminal restitution. I don't want more lawsuits. I want my kids to heal. I want my company stable. I want to move forward. That's very zen of you. That's very exhausted of me. But the truth was simpler. I couldn't keep fighting, couldn't keep relitigating every piece of damage. At some point, you have to stop counting losses and start rebuilding. Asset recovery took 6 weeks. The FBI forensic accountants were thorough. They seized the Ben condo, auctioned it, recovered $520,000 after legal fees. They traced the offshore accounts, froze them, recovered $780,000. They sold Bradley's photography equipment, his truck, everything he owned. Another $45,000. Total recovered $1,145,000. More than was stolen because the assets had appreciated. The condo had gained value. The offshore investments had grown. The court ordered full restitution to Sterling Systems first, then to the children's college funds, then to the retirement account. The remainder went to covering legal fees. We got whole, financially at least. Sterling Systems stabilized. David's loan repaid with interest. I brought in an external CFO oversight committee, new financial controls, mandatory dual authorization for any transfer over $5,000, quarterly external audits, the whole 9 yards. Rita was promoted to Senior Vice President of Finance. Real authority, real oversight, not just a title. You know this wasn't your fault, she said during one of our weekly check-ins. I signed these shell company documents without reading them. She forged your digital signature on most of the transactions. The forensic analysis proved it. And the ones you did sign, she lied about what they were. You can't audit your spouse, John. That's not how marriage works. Apparently, it should be. No. Apparently, you shouldn't marry criminals, but you didn't know she was one. The custody hearing was almost anticlimactic. Sophia was 19, legal adult, could live wherever she wanted. She chose to stay with me, finish her degree, return to the internship when she was ready. Mason was 16, old enough that Oregon Family Court gave significant weight to his preference. He chose me without hesitation, told the judge he didn't trust his mother, didn't feel safe with her, needed distance. The judge awarded me primary physical custody. Natalie got supervised visitation, 2 hours every other Sunday. until she completed her prison sentence, after which we'd revisit. And the unborn child? The judge asked. That was the complicated part. Natalie didn't want the baby. She'd said so privately. Wanted an abortion. Had scheduled one. But Oregon has mandatory waiting periods, counseling requirements, time for her to think, she'd thought. Decided she couldn't raise a baby in federal prison, couldn't bond with a child she'd conceived as part of a fraud scheme, couldn't look at Bradley's face every day in an infant's eyes. I'd like to place the baby for adoption, she told the court. My sister Emily has struggled with infertility. She and her husband have been trying for 6 years. They're good people, stable. They could provide a good home. Emily, I'd met her at family events. Quiet woman, school teacher, married to a decent guy who worked in manufacturing. They lived in Eugene, regular people, honest people. Mr. Sterling, do you have any objection? The judge asked. I thought about it. Thought about this baby, innocent in all of this, just another casualty of Natalie's choices. Thought about Emily, who'd done nothing wrong, who wanted a child desperately. No objection, Your Honor, but I'd like to request one thing. What's that? I'd like to establish a trust fund for the child, $50,000, managed by an independent trustee for education expenses, available when the child turns 18. The courtroom went quiet. Natalie's lawyer looked shocked. The prosecutor raised an eyebrow. Even the judge looked surprised. Mr. Sterling, you have no legal obligation. I know, Your Honor, but this baby didn't choose any of this. Didn't choose to be conceived in an affair. Didn't choose parents who committed federal crimes. I can't give this child much. But I can give them a chance at college. A chance to be more than the worst decisions their biological parents made. The judge approved it, Natalie cried. Whether from shame or relief or something else, I couldn't tell. Didn't want to know. Sentencing day was cold. October. 18 months after I'd first opened that silver laptop at my kitchen table. Natalie stood before the judge. Federal courtroom. Same wood paneling. Same American flag. Different energy. This was the end. Mrs. Sterling, you've pleaded guilty to 2 counts of federal wire fraud. You've cooperated with asset recovery. The court has received letters from your family, from victims of your fraud, from your children. I've read them all. Sophia had written. I'd read her letter. It was careful, measured. Didn't ask for leniency, just explained how the betrayal had affected her, how she'd questioned every childhood memory, every I love you, every moment of affection, wondering if any of it was real or if she'd always been just a custody complication in training. Mason hadn't written, refused, said he had nothing to say to her. This court has seen a lot of fraud cases, the judge continued, but this one stands out, not because of the dollar amount, though $1.2 million is substantial, but because of the victims. Your own husband, your own children, your own business partners, the employees whose livelihoods you jeopardized, the level of premeditation, the length of deception, the calculated cruelty. Natalie stood very still. However, you've taken responsibility, pleaded guilty, cooperated fully, made restitution. Those factors weigh in your favor. Therefore, the court sentences you to 18 months in federal minimum security prison, 3 years supervised release, mandatory financial counseling, random drug testing, and upon release, supervised visitation only with your minor child until he reaches majority. The gavel fell. 18 months, federal prison, full restitution, supervised visitation only. It wasn't enough. Would never be enough for what she'd done to Sophia and Mason. But it was something. Consequences. Public acknowledgement that what she'd done was wrong. Criminal. Prosecutable. Bradley got 3 years, served at a different facility. His cooperation earned him 18 months off the maximum, but the judge cited his pattern of behavior. Third offense? Serial predator. The financial advisory licenses were revoked. permanent ban from the industry. Natalie's real estate license was under review, would likely be revoked. Her reputation in Portland's event coordination industry was destroyed. The venues had dropped her. The vendors wouldn't work with her. She'd never work in that field again. Some consequences you can't recover from. Some choices echo forever. 6 months later, I found Mason in my home office. It was a Saturday morning. Sophia was at school. The house was quiet. Mason had been different lately, calmer, more focused. He'd started therapy, was actually talking to the therapist, making progress. "Dad, can you teach me about cybersecurity?" I looked up from my laptop. Why? "I want to understand how it works, how you protect data, how you build systems that people can't break into." He sat down in the other chair. "I've been thinking about what happened with Mom, with Bradley's laptop, how we found everything because they were stupid enough to keep records." "They weren't stupid, they were arrogant." "Same thing, basically. But I want to learn how to do it right, not for fraud or whatever, but just, I want to understand how security works, how you know who to trust, how you verify things." I studied him. 16, going on 40. Trauma ages you, forces you to grow up faster than you should. Mason had lost his innocence in one dinner conversation with a silver laptop, but maybe he could build something from that loss. Something good. "Okay," I said, "let's start with the basics. Come here." He moved to sit next to me. I pulled up a fresh terminal window, started with simple concepts, encryption, authentication, access control, how you build layers of security, how you verify identity, how you create systems where trust isn't blind, it's earned and constantly validated. "The mistake I made," I said after an hour of teaching, wasn't technical, it was personal. I gave your mother complete access, digital signature authority, account access, trust without verification. I assumed that because I loved her, she was safe. But security doesn't work that way. Love and access are separate things. So you can love someone and still not trust them? No. You can love someone and still verify. Trust, but confirm. It's not about suspicion, it's about responsibility. When you're responsible for other people, employees, clients, family, you have a duty to protect them, even from the people you love if necessary. The keyboard clicked under our fingers. I showed him how to set up two-factor authentication, how to create secure passwords, how to recognize phishing attempts, how to audit access logs. "You're really good at this," Mason said after 2 hours. "Teaching, I mean. Your mother used to say I should teach, that I was wasted in corporate." I paused, realized what I'd said. "Sorry." "Don't apologize for mentioning her. She existed. She's still my mom, even if she's not safe." The smell of fresh coffee drifted from the kitchen. Sophia was awake, making breakfast. The sound of her moving around the house, opening cabinets, running water, was comforting, normal. The simple rhythms of a home healing. "Dad, how do you know who to trust?" Mason asked. "After everything, how do you know?" I thought about it, about Natalie, about the employees I'd almost let down, about Rita and David who'd stood by me, about Sophia and Mason who'd chosen truth even when it destroyed their family, about Agent Morgan who'd taken the case seriously, about my father who'd driven 3 hours to confront his daughter-in-law with accounting precision. You don't, son, not at first, but you watch how people act when no one's watching, when there's nothing to gain, when doing the right thing costs them something, and you trust the people who show up, not just the ones who promise to. He nodded, turned back to the screen, started writing code, simple stuff, basic encryption algorithm, but focused, determined. John and Mason redefined what family means, not who you're born to, but who shows up when everything falls apart. If you've built your own chosen family, the people who proved their loyalty when it mattered most, tell me about them in the comments. I want to hear those stories, and if this story moved you, if you stayed for all of this, subscribe. I tell stories about betrayal, justice, and rebuilding when the people you trusted most let you down. I'll see you in the next one. The click of the keyboard, my son's questions about encryption, the smell of coffee brewing, Sophia humming in the kitchen. Simple moments I almost lost because I didn't protect what mattered. I built a company protecting people's data from theft. Spent 20 years teaching corporations about security, about firewalls, about access control. Never imagined the real theft was happening in my own home by someone who had all the keys. But now I'm teaching Mason. Security isn't just code. It's not just firewalls and passwords and two-factor authentication. It's knowing who you trust with the keys. It's verifying even when you love. It's protecting what matters most, not just data, but family, integrity, truth. Some things once stolen can't be recovered. The money came back, the business stabilized, but the innocence, the trust, the belief that the people who say they love you actually mean it, that's gone. For me, for Sophia, for Mason. But we're building something new, something stronger, not built on blind faith, but on earned trust. Not perfect. We're all too damaged for perfect, but real, honest, clean. 3 months after that morning teaching Mason, I met Emily at a coffee shop in Eugene. She was 38, looked tired but hopeful. The baby, a girl, was 3 months old, sleeping in a carrier next to Emily's chair, tiny, peaceful, completely unaware of the chaos she'd been born into. "John, thank you for meeting me," Emily said, "and thank you for the trust fund. You didn't have to." "I wanted to. She deserves a chance." Emily's husband, Mark, was quiet. Decent man, worked manufacturing. They lived in a small house in a good neighborhood. Regular people leading regular lives. The kind of stability this baby needed. "We're telling her the truth," Emily said, "when she's old enough. About Natalie, about Bradley, about how she came to us. We're not hiding it. We want her to know her story." "Good." "Natalie has visitation rights, supervised, once she's out of prison. We'll honor that if she pursues it. But..." Emily paused. "I don't think she will. She signed the adoption papers without hesitation. Hasn't asked about her once. I think she genuinely can't bond. Something's broken in her." I looked at the baby. She had Bradley's nose, Natalie's coloring, but sleeping there, peaceful, she was just herself. Just a child who didn't choose any of this. "You'll be good parents," I said. "We'll try. And John, if you ever want updates, photos, anything, you're always welcome. You're not her father. You're not family, technically. But you gave her a future when you didn't have to. That means something." I left them there. Emily and Mark and the baby whose name I hadn't asked because knowing would make it harder, would make me more invested in a life I needed to let go. Some endings aren't happy, aren't tied up neat, aren't resolved with justice or redemption or closure. Sometimes you just walk away. Let the innocent rebuild. Give them space to be something more than the worst parts of their origin story. Natalie served 16 months, released early for good behavior, moved to Seattle. I heard through extended family, started working retail, lived in a small apartment, kept her head down. She never requested visitation with Mason, never reached out to Sophia, never tried to contact the baby Emily was raising. Just disappeared from our lives like she'd never existed, except for the scars. Those remained. Sterling Systems grew, hit $18 million in revenue, expanded to 120 employees. I stepped back from day-to-day operations, hired a proper COO, spent more time with Sophia and Mason, tried to be present, available, the father I should have been all along. Sophia graduated from Reed, wrote an economics thesis on white-collar fraud in family businesses, got published, went on to grad school. She's good, strong, built something from the wreckage. Mason learned cybersecurity, got really good at it, started doing bug bounty hunting, made money finding vulnerabilities in corporate systems, earned his way into MIT, left for Boston last month, called me from his dorm. Dad, I'm good. The work you did, teaching me, showing me how to rebuild, I'm good. And I believed him. Last week, I was teaching a seminar. Corporate cybersecurity, room full of executives learning about data protection. I got to the section on insider threats, employee fraud, how the biggest vulnerabilities aren't external hackers, they're the people you already trust, the ones with access, the ones you don't think to audit because they're family, partners, friends. The hardest lesson in security, I told them, is that trust and access are separate things. You can love someone deeply and still need to verify their transactions. Not because you don't trust them, but because when you're responsible for others, employees, shareholders, clients, you have a duty to protect them, even from the people closest to you. Someone raised their hand. How do you balance that? Trust but verify sounds like you don't trust at all. It's not about suspicion, I said. It's about responsibility. You build systems where trust isn't blind faith, where verification is routine, not accusatory, where access is earned and monitored because that's how you protect everyone, including the people you trust. After the seminar, an older woman approached me, 70s, well-dressed, kind eyes. Mr. Sterling, I heard about what happened with your wife. I'm sorry. Thank you. But I wanted to say, thank you for teaching this. My daughter's husband embezzled from her business. She didn't catch it for 3 years because she thought auditing him meant she didn't trust him. She lost everything. If more people understood what you're teaching, that verification isn't betrayal, maybe people like my daughter wouldn't lose everything to people they love. I thought about Natalie, about the silver laptop, about Mason handing it to me at dinner saying, Dad, I think I found a way to make money trading stocks. About how sometimes the biggest discoveries come from the smallest moments of chance. Tell your daughter I'm sorry, I said. Tell your children they're lucky to have you. I drove home. Mason was gone to MIT, but Sophia was visiting for the weekend. We made dinner together, talked about her research, about her boyfriend, good guy, studying law, wants to work in financial fraud prosecution. We laughed about the irony, about how trauma shapes us even when we try to move beyond it. After dinner, Sophia found me in my office. I was updating the Sterling Systems security protocols, always updating, always improving, always learning. Dad, I've been thinking about writing something about what happened, not for publication, just to process it. You should. Will you read it? If you want me to. She sat down, quiet for a moment, then, do you think she ever loved us? Really? The question I'd avoided for 2 years. The question Mason had asked through tears with a hole punched in the garage wall. The question Sophia had asked 100 different ways through therapy and late-night conversations and careful silences. I think she loved the idea of us, I said finally. The family, the image, the lifestyle. I think she loved what we represented, what we gave her. But loving us, actually loving us as people, with needs and hearts and futures, I don't think she was capable of that. Something in her was broken long before we met. That's sad. It is, but it's not our fault, and it's not our responsibility to fix. Sophia nodded, stood up, hugged me, left me alone in my office with my code and my coffee and my memories. The click of the keyboard, the smell of coffee, the sound of my daughter in the next room, alive and healing and building a future. These are the moments that matter, the simple, quiet, ordinary moments I almost lost. I built systems protecting people's data. Now I know the most important security isn't digital. It's knowing who you trust with the keys to your life. It's verifying even when you love. It's protecting what matters most, not with firewalls and passwords, but with boundaries and courage and the willingness to see truth, even when it destroys everything you thought you knew. Some vaults you can't protect from the inside. Some thieves already have all the access they need, but you can rebuild. You can teach your children to be smarter. You can create systems where trust is earned, not assumed, where verification is normal, not paranoid, you can build new foundations, stronger ones, real ones. And you can hope that somewhere that baby Emily is raising, the innocent one caught in the crossfire, will grow up knowing that sometimes the best thing family can do is show up when everyone else has left. That love isn't blood, it's choice. It's showing up. It's building trust through actions, not words. I built a company from nothing, lost half of it to theft, rebuilt it stronger. I built a family on blind trust, watched it collapse, rebuilt it on truth. The second version isn't perfect, but it's real. And real, I've learned, is worth more than perfect ever was.